Hello all, my name is Piotr and I build guitars. So I've stained the body and I struggled with a deep grain. You may remember from the last video it just didn't want to stain with this Feast Watson black stain, and I found out that using a black dye on the deep grain only and stain on the flat surfaces is the way to go, and it was. So the deep grain, as you could see, is now stained, but I have run into an issue. So using this the dye on top of the stain causes it to dry weirdly. It leaves white marks, like maybe you'll be able to see here, like dried water that I couldn't get off, and the only method I found working for that is sanding it down. So yeah, there is two more issues. One is that I found a lot of scratches on the back now, and I'm gonna have to sand it all down and start over. But at the same time, I'm not very happy with the placement of the ferrule, string ferrule holes. One of them is a little bit off, and my OCD is kicking in every time I look at it, and it's driving me nuts. So I decided to drop a metal block instead, which I have to wait for delivery on. So this is gonna have to wait. I'm not a big fan of those blocks. They always, to me, they always look like someone messed up the alignment and had to fix it that way, which in this case, it's pretty accurate. But I think that this is the way to go in this case. There is no way to fix the alignment on already drilled holes. It is what it is, I guess. I've looked at a million guitars with the block, and I think I can make it work well. It doesn't have to look like an afterthought. It can look like it's been designed that way, and I've selected a specific block that doesn't look cheap and weird. Yeah, I think I'll make it work well. So the body has to wait. I have to sand it all down. I have to, like, all back and sides, because those scratches are awful. And I'll start with the correct order. I'll go in with a dye again, then sand it again, and then I will apply the stain. You've seen me do it several times now. I don't have to film that. And only after the block is in, I can finish the body with the wipe-on poly. So this will have to wait for now, because I haven't got the block yet. And I don't want to film another video of me sanding and staining the back. So I will get into preparing the fretboard, which is exciting. It's a black ebony fretboard, and I'm not going to make 3,000 videos about it. I hope to fit everything into this one. We'll see. One thing that I need to keep in mind with this fretboard is that it is thicker than the one I have here, and it's thicker by 2 mils. I think I will try and shave it off with a plane. Maybe not the entire 2 millimeters, but at least one, because I have calculated the depth of the neck pocket specifically for this fretboard, and I don't want to end up with the bridge jacked up all the way. There's wax at the end, which helps to seal the end grain. They do it to prevent the wood from soaking up the moisture. That's a very helpful practice. This fretboard is going to be beautiful. It's got very consistent color. It's all black. Really nice. So my workbench is horrible. It's not very stable, unfortunately, so this is going to be challenging, I suppose. I have never planed ebony, so it might be challenging for the plane as well. We'll see. Okay, so my little poke plane, number 4. I'll hide the blade all the way and start from scratch. Okay. Oh, this is planing really well. Wow. Wow, this is amazing. I mean, look at this shaving. This is perfect. Look at that. Beautiful. You know what? I'm actually really happy that I'm going to use this fretboard because it looks amazing. It doesn't have figure in it, but the grain pattern is really beautiful. I'm so happy that it happened, really. It's a wasted fretboard, this one, but well, it was a learning curve. I don't consider it to be a wasted time, even though the fretboard is, you know, going in the bin. But I've learned a lot doing it. But this is going to be so much better. So the right tool for this job would be a belt sander, of course. Just feed it through and it sands down bit by bit down to whatever thickness you want. Yep, we're going down. Okay, so I cleared the chips off the blade, and I cut myself, of course. But this is working really well. I'm really happy with the way it planes. And we're at 8 now, and that's including the masking tape. I need to take some off this end and then flip it and take some thickness of this end. Right, so this is all planed now. I'm using 150 grit sandpaper on the sanding beam just to make sure that the entire surface is level and flat. 6.8 mil, which is absolutely perfect. That's great. Okay, now I need to mark the center line so I can align this one later, and I'll get to use my fretting saw jig. Let's do it. And there you go. I've got the center line marked. I can place it down. Yeah, there we go. And it's just there. And I can trace it around now. I'm not sticking it down yet. I will do it after the frets are marked. Okay. So this is roughly where the fretboard will be. I will mark the last fret for the reference and the knot, so I can reference it on the jig. Okay, now that's the jig. I need to screw it down to the top. And I need to stick the fretboard onto my scale ruler. So this is the precision scale ruler. It gives you 4 different scales. This is 24.6 to 5 inch. It's used by like Gretsch, for example. This one is 24 3/4, which is your Gibson. This is 25.5 and 25 inch used by PRS. This is the Fender scale, and I'm going to use the Fender scale for this. Yeah, so the knot line, 22nd fret, that is correct. The issue that I'm having now is that I need to line up the fret positions with the fret positions on the fretboard blank. And the way this jig is constructed is that the blade sits here, right in the middle. And I don't have a reference point to line up the ruler when it's here. I can't just, judge it in the middle roughly. It needs to be very precise. So I'm gonna align it to the edge of this fence here. Maybe you can see it. But then it will be offset by a few mil relative to the blade. So I need to figure out the way to install the fretboard blank on the ruler in the best way to align it correctly. It doesn't need to be perfect because, as I said, I can align the fretboard outline later on when I have the frets marked. All I need to be careful about is not to go out with the whole thing. So I may actually move it that way a bit, so it will change anyways, but just to be safe, yeah. Okay, I think I know where to go with this. I need the ruler to be sticking out from under the fretboard blank. I can't go too far though because of the width of the jig. So I roughly measured it, and that much should be fine. It's not critical for it to be tight because of those clamps that hold down the fretboard blank for sewing, but I want it to be all straight and even. Beautiful, that's not going anywhere. This is how the fretboard fits. Okay, it fits perfectly. And I can reference the marks against the edge of this fence here. Hopefully you can see these marks here at the end of the fretboard. These are the fret marks of the 25.5-inch scale, and I will use those to align the fretboard blank within the jig. So each of those marks, so you can see the line there, I will align with the edge of the fence right here, and then clamp it down, and it stays in place, and those bearings will guide the blade straight in the middle of the gap, perfectly parallel with the center line. I'll be moving the fretboard blank for each fret, and when I get to the 22nd, that will be it. And then I can, based on the center line and the location of the knot, I can then align the outline of the fretboard again, and that'll be it. Okay, so that's 6 mil on both sides. This is 6 mil plus the plate, the ruler, which is about 1 mil. Okay, need to go down just a tiny bit. Okay, 5.5. That leaves me mil and a half. That's plenty enough. And I'll start with a nut slot. Okay, let's see how that fits in. So if this is 22nd, okay, perfect. Yeah, that is great. Okay, I'll start with a nut line, align it against the fence. The ruler is pressed against the fence, so it sits perfectly straight, parallel with the center line. Yep, it is about 5 mil off the mark on the ruler, which is perfect. I am 1 mil down. Take it out now, and this is what the nut line looks like now. It is perfectly square with the edge. The edges are parallel, by the way. So yeah, I think that works. That's the first thread. There it is. Here, center line, all good. Now I need that outline to be able to cut the fretboard out on my scroll saw before I can go in and route it out on the router table. Right, let's prepare the saw and let's cut the fretboard out. Okay, so here's the router table set up, and what I need to do is to route the new surface flush with the old surface. I have a collection of router bits. I'm definitely going to use the tiny one, and I will use it for the end, for the spoke wheel notch. I think I can use this router bit. It's quite sharp. I've used it for the both neck and body, and I think it can do a great job. So this is a top bearing bit. It will ride on the template, which is the old fretboard on top, and we'll cut anything down from the bearing flush with it. So let's start with that and then we'll see. So it's set up to ride on the fretboard, on the top fretboard, by a half of the thickness of the bearing, which is plenty enough. Thickness of the whole thing does not change, so it will not suddenly jump down or up. So there will be no surprises there, hopefully. Right, let's plug it all in. That should be fine. Let's do it. Right, so this is now routed out. I've went into the notch just a bit with this big router bit, but what I want to do is to route it out with this tiny one. I wanted to get rid of as much material as I safely could so that this tiny bearing doesn't have to struggle with ebony. So the problem that I have here is that I cut those angles at the end. They look lovely, but right now the bearing needs to ride on just the top straight bits on both ends. Otherwise it will adjust to the angle and will cut into the template. So I've set it up high enough to ride only on the top. Could be a tiny bit lower actually, but let's just try as is. There is unfortunately about a millimeter gap between the bearing and the cutter. So if there is a material to be cut right under the cutter and before the bearing, it will stay uncut. So we'll see how it looks. It seems like there is some, so I'll try doing this as is, very slowly, and I guess we'll see what happens. Okay, this is all routed out. I did not mess around with the top end of the fretboard. It doesn't matter, it will be sliced off anyways. But the sides and the back here with the notch, that's routed out. I will need to finish it off nicely with I don't know, files, sandpaper. And because there are some glue bits that I missed on the template, I've got some waves on the side of the new fretboard, so I'm going to have to go with a sanding beam and just level it all off. That'll be very easy. I'm going to take it off now, clean up the masking tape, if I can take it off. Yep. That's a risky thing since the thread slots are already cut in. Those are the weak points, so when you bend it, it may snap. Maybe not ebony, but this one could. Okay, so that's the new fretboard. I like it very much. As I said, this needs to be cleaned up and finished off. I'm tempted to leave the notch rounded like this. It looks very nice, and this one was all right angles, and I think this may look even better. The end of the fretboard will be right angle, well, nearly right angle because of the taper, but it will be very sharp, and this could visually at least relate to body curves. So yeah, we'll see. I'll put it on, we'll see. But yeah, I'll leave it for now. I'll take care of that next week. I will be preparing this fretboard for gluing, so finishing all the sides, and then I need to locate it on the fretboard using pins. I can't use these pins. I need to locate it again and drill new pinholes, because even if they are slightly at an angle, if I just use the template to drill this hole, it could be off, and then I'll end up with a wonky fretboard. So I need to finish it off, sand it off, put it on the neck, and then locate it again with the pins, and yeah, and just glue it on. I remember there was some fitment problem with the truss rod, at this section of the neck, so I need to recheck the truss rod slot, put the truss rod in and just glue it on. Yeah, big step. I've got plenty of clamps to do that. I've got nice templates to clamp it with, so yeah. And I am considering doing thread markers. Not like those, don't worry. I bought a metal tube that is 6 mm in diameter and 1 mm thick. And I think I will do dot markers, but with a metal tube and filled in with ebony, black ebony. So it will only leave like 1 mm thick circles, which may look interesting because that's what I will use for the side dots as well. So because the hardware is chrome, the side dots and the main dots will be chrome, that may look interesting. Okay, I will leave it at this. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for stopping by to see this crazy build, and for all your support and all your comments and all that. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. Yeah, and I'll see you next week. Cheers. Love you, bye.